Добрый день, друзья! Рад приветствовать сегодня на наших панельных сессиях.
Dear ladies and gentlemen, we welcome you to our next webinar. We will be talking about crowdfunding. We will be talking about what projects we can launch through crowdfunding. We'll also talk about the VC, the venture capitals, and we'll also talk about the cryptocurrency, which is the hot topic at the moment. Let me introduce our panel, our speakers. First, let me introduce myself. My name is Bekzhan Mutanov. I'm the Deputy CEO of Tech Hub AIFC. We will also have Nazgul Baitemirova, who is the Senior Manager at Tech Hub AIFC, who will talk about regulation crowdfunding. Also, we have Arman Bayev, who is the CEO at the Proportunity management company. We also have Alpamys, CEO of the GoCrowd Limited, who have a full AIFC license. We also have Nurbek Rayev, who is the CEO of IKapitalist Ltd, who is one of the major financial players in AIFC. Also, we have Arslan Kudiar, who is the head of the VC support at the Tech Hub AFC. And we also have Zhanibek Mursali, the senior manager at the Tech Hub AFC, who will talk about the regulation. In general, if we look at the numbers, at the moment, there are lots of investment to startups. In the first 6 months of the 2021, about 150 billion were invested in startup ecosystem. 33% of them were for Fintech area. Compared to the second quarter of last year, as you can see, about 200% growth. And also we wanted to talk about the crowdfunding investment being one of the major trends in the Fintech area. There are also transfers, payments, and now it is being created as a separate area, and we are closely monitoring the data provided by the international experts, and this crowdfunding area will be growing by 15%. As you can see, about 6.5 million projects were launched last year, and by 2023, the analysts predict that it will rise by 2. And in the US, it is quite a popular type of crowdfunding, and in the US, the money made from the crowdfunding, it's about 17.2 billion, and in Asia, this it is about $10.5 billion. And at the moment, crowdfunding is becoming a major trend and is becoming accessible for most people. We wanted to say that Kazakhstan was one of the first CIS countries, one of the first Eurasian countries who made it legal, the alternative financing mechanism for startups. And at the moment, we have 4 participants. 3 of them are taking part in this panel session. There is also one company with a full license, and we will now talk in more details about the regulation in this field. Nazgul, please, the floor is yours. Thank you, Bekzhan. Good morning or good afternoon or good evening, dear participants and speakers. I would like to share my screen with you. Bekzhan, thank you for the introduction, I will talk about the regulation on crowdfunding at AIFC. First, let me start with definition. What is crowdfunding platform operator at IFC? It's the authorized market participants who receive a license from the regulator for these operations, for these activities. As you know, the crowdfunding, there are two types of them: the equity crowdfunding and debt crowdfunding. Equity crowdfunding it's a mechanism that enables broad groups of investors to fund startup companies and small businesses in return for a piece of that business. So you can purchase the shares in the startup in the company, and you finance by purchasing the shares. And the equity crowdfunding, before the crowdfunding company is registered, they shall determine the company value. So every time investor purchases the share, he knows what amount and for what price he is purchasing it. And the other area of crowdfunding is debt crowdfunding. These are the debts. When the company raises a debt, this instrument is a popular instrument because most startups are unable to make an evaluation. They don't have the credit history. So in this instance, debt crowdfunding is one of the most accessible and popular methods to raise the investment. In 2019, to promote the AIFC, launched the Fintech platform, which is the first regulator in the region who implemented the first regulatory platform in the region, Sandbox. And this Sandbox, it's a special debt regime that allows the individuals and legal entities to experiment in implementing without breaching the existing legislation. What are the advantages? It's the regulatory framework. It is flexible, it is open, it is clear, it is open to trends and changes. And applying for Sandbox is done online through the self-support website. We should note that this website is improving. Every day, the new services are being implemented. So the participants can look at the list of authorized consultant firms and they can provide consulting services after the registration at the AIFC, accounting and tax accounting. And also on this website, you can submit an application for IIN, the service provided by the Expat Center and other services. Also, the advantage of the Sandbox is the faster access to data prestation from the participants, and depending on the quality of materials, quality of application, the duration of authorization processing is about 1 month.
Fintech Sandbox is also the opportunity to test different products. For example, at the moment of the registration, each company that applied is given one case manager from the regulators side, and they test the products, the business, and this case manager, Fintech case manager, will provide support constantly on understanding of all these regulatory issues, on implementation of their products. and also the activity regarding the compliance of the requirements of the AIFC. We also need to say that there are no specific payment for the participation sandbox. So you can find the information regarding prices and fees and services on this site, but these do not apply to the sandbox participants. And also, in the conclusion, I would like to say that all sandbox participants
Recording in progress.
are able to
Recording
use
stopped.
all the benefits for all the participants. For example, they use the tax exemptions, they can receive the services from the AIFC, they can receive the services from the expat center of AIFC. Can you hear me well? Because there is some kind of background noise. I think the participants can hear us well. Okay, let me continue. What is the idea of participation in the sandbox? Why some participants go through this sandbox rather than receiving the full license and authorization? As I have told you, first, there is an opportunity to test the products. So first of all, they have to comply with all these requirements, and then the company which has some representatives in this jurisdiction, you know, the AIFC can recognize your license, and as if the license is recognized, you can be the full participant of Fintech Club, and you can test the products with real clients. So this slide shows the main moments regarding the operators, regarding the startup companies that wish to participate. So first of all, the startup shall be a legal entity, and also this startup will go through the due diligence procedure. The operator of the crowdfunding platform will be responsible for this. So before receiving the general license, each operator will approve this with the regulator, with the Fintech sandbox. So here we have the check of legal documents, the check for the procedures there is a business assessment process, the efficiency of the business, and so on, and some other additional requirements on due diligence that the operator sets for the startup companies. So the startup company and investors shall have the legally enforceable agreements. Each operator of crowdfunding platform shall have the minimum capital requirement, and as the operators of the crowdfunding platform are participants of the financial markets, they have to have the specific rules and policies, anti-money laundering, combating financing of terrorist rules, consumer protection, and so on. So this is in accordance with the rules of AFC and the Republic of Kazakhstan. When company comes as a participant of Sandbox, there are some specific limits for the fundraising. For example, the startup can become the participants, and they can take from the retail investors maximum $5 million, and they can fundraise the amount of not more than $50 million in total a year for accredited investors. Here we need to say that these limits are under consideration. They could be increased or decreased depending on the requirements of the regulator. And also each investor, each participant of the platform shall have the opportunity to withdraw its commitment, its wish to invest. So after a person presents a commitment for the investment, they have 48 hours of cooling off period, when during this time they can withdraw their application for the investment. And I will also speak about the application process on the license obtaining and how to become the participant of Fintech Club Sandbox. So the procedure consists of two parts. First is pre-application form, where an applicant, a company, the operator of crowdfunding platform describes its business, its procedures, and describes its financial technologies that will be implemented. It takes about a day, not more than a day, but again, it depends on the preparedness of each applied companies. So this process is, let's say, the pre-description of a business plan. And then, upon the successful completion of this pre-application form, the applicant will receive the application form. All these forms are available online. This is a digitalized process. You do not have to go anywhere, and you don't have to bring all your documents. It is all done online. So the company has the access to application form, where there is the main process of assessment of the operator and its readiness to provide services to the real clients, the real life. AFSA, the regulator of the AIFC, will check the legitimacy of the company, the financial and non-financial indicators, will check the business model, like some charts, some business strategies, and we will also it will also assess IT core systems, the financial technologies, and some other criteria and indicators that AFSA, the regulator, will find necessary for checking this company. We want to say that here we have different types of waivers, so you can send an application and ask for some requirements to be postponed for some specific period of time. So you're writing the application, then you apply it online, you say why this is important for you, why it is and not an urgent issue now, and you say that within a specific period it will be implemented. It could be about some type of clients, about some tests and so on. And in conclusion, as I have said, that the sandbox is not a full-fledged participation. It is a gradual compliance to the requirements of the regulator, and by the time you fulfill all the requirements, you will go to the full authorization. So here we see migration to full authorization. You're receiving this authorization, and now you are not a participant just of a sandbox. You are a full participant, complete participant of the regulator of the AFSA AIFC. Well, that's it from my side. If there are any questions, I will be glad to answer them. Yes, dear audience, if there are any questions, please write your questions to the chat. We will try to answer all your questions during our Q&A session. If we do not have time today to answer some of your questions, we will send you the written replies. Thank you so much, Nazgul. And I want also to mention that we cannot operate in AIFC without social crowdfunding. We had lots of questions regarding it from our participants, and now I would like to give the floor to Nurbek Rayev, because he has one of the biggest platforms that exist now at AIFC. So Nurbek, could you please tell us about some of the moments you faced and how you solved these challenges? What are the projects ahead? What projects could come here? So that maybe our audience, some of them could come and test some of your products. Thank you so much. Bekzhan, I greet the audience. Yes, crowdfunding is a very interesting area. Nowadays, it's becoming more popular because there is a trend for democratization. If before we suggested that only smart people, can deal with investments, but now, due to the accessibility to education, every person can choose the area of their investments without, looking up to some assets managers. So nowadays, IKapitalist is our platform. We have funded the transaction for almost 3 billion tenge. We had some projects in agriculture, in industry, in wholesale trade, and other different areas, financial institutions. We focus mainly at the enterprises, at the small and medium enterprises. And our transactions is up to 150 million tenge. The number of repeated transactions is more than 90%, and this is due to from the investor side, the wish from the investor side, and from the company side. Well, you know, we provide the funding without collateral, and the payment of the main loan is in the end, and it is very comfortable for some for many enterprises due to their production cycle. For the moment, we are working efficiently. We have been working for 1.5 years. We have 0% of defaults, and I would like to thank people from the AIFC, from the regulator, because they were helping us a lot. We are still the participants of Sandbox, and they helped us a lot during our document process, during the documents check. It was a very good activity. We also have the other check from enterprise side, from investor side. So you can go to our site, IKapitalist.kz, and you can learn more information about the transactions that became available due to our funding. If you are interested in becoming an investor, please try it. We always encourage people to start with the lowest ticket and with the maximum diversification. So let's say, for example, if you have 5 million tenge, divided into 10 parts and then invest in different activities. I do not recommend to invest a big amount. Right now, we are having the license in investments, and before the speakers was saying, we are working with the loan issuance and bonds issuance. You know, we successfully placed our bonds, and we successfully paid our loans and these bonds. Then we also have the second license, the management of investment activities. But for the moment, we have made this internal decision that we will place the shares of the companies that were successful in a loaning process. So we want to build good activities with enterprises. We want to have a favorable environment, and then we want to list only those companies at our platform that have this reputation. We have an active channel in Telegram, IKapitalist. So please, Nurbek, can we ask you a question? What are the future plans? The plans on the expansion, the plans on the creation of some new functionality. We know that your platform is for small and medium enterprises, that they can comply with all your requirements and they can come to you. So what are your future plans? So next year, we will be focused on equity financing. As I have told you, we are not looking at the startup side for the moment. Now we are focusing at SMEs, active SMEs, and the minimum profit should be 60 million over the last 12 months. So, you know, we did some kind of experiments, and we have understood that if there is more than this amount, then the company is the other one. And the company shall be operating for 12 months at least. Of course, they shall have the transparent accounting documents. So next year, we are focusing on increasing our activities twice. According to our plan, we wanted to have the goal of 2 billion tenge, but during the pandemic time, we couldn't do it. For this year, we have fulfilled our plan, and this year we suggest that we will have about 3 billion tenge. So you see now we are overworking our numbers. And I think that next year, the amount of investments regarding loans will be about 6-7 million tenge. And there will be next year also some investment to some other activities. Thank you so much. Now, the question to Arman, how do you come to the development of your platform that is about property? Could you please tell us about your project? Good day, everyone. I'm glad to be here at this wonderful session. Well, the idea to invest in property, you know, is a traditional activity. And you know, there is a saying that each investor, when it comes to property, walks the right way. You know, the purchase of commercial buildings or purchase of apartments here for Kazakhstan is quite common, but many people still face the challenges, for example, the co-possession. It's due to the high price for the property and so on. So here we had the idea to allow people to invest in the co-possession of commercial property. And we provided the opportunity for people to take a loan for commercial properties. Because, you know, in some specific cases, for example, banks would require lots of documents, collateral, and so on. And so due to AIFC platform, we were able to have this crowdfunding platform where people could fundraise money for buying the commercial property for their businesses. And also this is an opportunity to become the co-owner of this commercial property. If you go to our site, proportunity.gz, you can see lots of options. You can even become the co-owner of the building where you live in. You can buy maybe a building where there are lots of stores and you can receive some income. And in our platform, you can buy starting from 1 square meter. You don't have to have lots of money, but with this small amount of money, you can diversify your investment activity and you can invest to property. This is safe. And you know, we have lots of different types of property, and you know, even the pandemic time did not affect us negatively. We had just one bad period for one of our property, but this risk was calculated and was predicted. You know, and the pandemic has showed us that it's better to be the owner of several, the owner of the little share of several properties rather than having the whole property. So now we have been cooperating with many large companies like Rams, Nax, and SAD-NS, Voidom, Sheber Construction, Inclusive, and lots of other construction companies. We have the representative of Almaty, and we are providing these opportunities for all people. And it's cheaper now to buy for one person because we do it as a whole group, you know. If we're speaking about our debt tool or the instrument, we have the lease with the right of purchase. There is no commission, so the person is taking this opportunity for rent, and then when he has more money, he buys more shares and he becomes the co-owner of this. So these are two services that our company provides for the people. Arman, could you tell us, so you know that it could be co-owner, co-owning or co-possession, and then there is also the lease or rent with a further purchase. Well, if a person is using the debt instrument, so we are asking the person to purchase this property within 3 years. We do not have this notion as a monthly payment, but within 3 years, the person where he has his business has to purchase this property. We also do, you know, the scoring of property. It shouldn't be some kind of hat. It should be a good building. And we also do the scoring of the entrepreneur so that to know if the person knows these activities, if the person understands what is a loan, and if the person understands how to do the business.
Смотрите, у нас регулирование в МФЦ, которое регулирует.
And how do you regulate? We have AIFC crowdfunding regulation. How, based on the Kazakh law, how can I own this square meter, this area, this property? In addition to the sandbox, we have, and we manage these licenses. To be a co-owner, we have a legal license and a service providing company. So this is a license that allows us to manage this special company. This is a very specialist company or partnership. It's a good instrument. It's a good tool to become a co-owner of a commercial space where you become the shareholder, and SPC is the owner of this property. It is very convenient because the investor interests are protected, because we know that if we have a regular LLP and you put someone as a director, it's easy to forge the signatures or do something like that. And here it's everything clear, simple, and transparent. Arman, similar questions related to your plans. Where are you heading? What do you want to achieve? And what can we expect from your company? So basically, tell us about your plans. 2021, so this year has been the year of collective co-owning. And in recent months, we plan to launch the legacy project. It's the project where people can accumulate their capital. We plan to have about 50,000 square meters of co-owned space in the country. So we want to help people to co-own any commercial space that becomes a stable, a permanent source of income. We plan to do this in all major cities of Kazakhstan. Right now, we have this only in Nur-Sultan and Almaty. Thank you, Arman. From my side, I might advise you the blockchain technology so that it becomes even more transparent and straightforward. I want to ask the question to Alpamys, who is probably one of the first to receive the crowdfunding license. Alpamys, please tell us, what are your goals? What are your projects? Who are you working with, and who are your clients? Thank you, Bekzhan. Good afternoon, everyone. Hello, everyone. I wanted to thank the organizers for inviting me, and also the AFSA for organizing this event, WIW. Before the GoCrowd, I was working in this room. I was licensing companies and company monitoring. And today I wanted to tell you about why we created GoCrowd, how it became the first licensed crowdfunding platform in Kazakhstan, what are the regulatory requirements that we observe, and what is our contribution to improve the regulation of crowdfunding activities. We believe and support innovative ideas and people with energy and talent to create successful companies and make our world better. What do we do to achieve that? We give opportunities to the companies, to the business, without extra procedures, and quickly raise the money to implement their business projects. We give the opportunity to investors to invest in what they believe. So we created GoCrowd platform that makes investing and capital raising accessible for all, and it complies with all the AIFC regulatory requirements. We started with studying the best international practices, the US, and we also look at the Russia's experience. We started studying the Kazakhstan market, and we concluded that our product can address a number of problems for entrepreneurs and for investors. We studied the AFC requirements, and we understood that we have enough expertise and resources. Then we submitted our applications, and we started developing our platform from scratch. We didn't partner with IT companies, and we didn't want to purchase the ready-made solutions because we understood that they wouldn't fit our market and we wouldn't be able to provide salary services. And this year, we also, in parallel, we are also developing our platform, and we'll be soon ready to launch it. This is how our license looks like. At the moment, I want to tell you what requirements you should comply with to obtain the license. You need to comply with the following regulator requirements. First is the sufficient financial resources. You need to prove that you have enough financial resources to ensure the continuity of business. You need to show your financial forecast to the regulator, based on which so the minimum sum or the safety bag, so to speak. Number two is non-financial resources. It's the presence of all compliance mechanisms, the controls to combat and fight money laundering and other procedures. Number three is technology resources. It's the cyber attack protection and automated business process. And number four, it's the qualified staff. AFSA regulates the companies and the staff, and the regulator requires three positions: CEO, compliance officer, and finance officer. All three staff members pass the test for integrity. And today we have 10 staff members and 1 international expert who is our strategic advisor. Here you can see how the public register looks like, and in the authorized you can see our company, you can find our company in this public register. If you open and go further, you can click on our company. You can see our company license number, the license issue date, what type of financial services we have license, investment crowdfunding. You can also see the key personnel that was approved. Now I'm going to tell you, just 1 second. Here I will tell you about the mechanisms to protect the retail interest. We put the interest for clients at the core of our activities. We do our best to protect our clients from unforeseen risks. We have professional and retail clients. It's important to have classifications because based on that, it depends what protections do the investors get. The retail investors get the most protections. They can invest up to $2,000 per year without disclosing the income. And based on the information provided, we calculate the new limit amount that will be 10% of annual income or 5% of net assets. We also have the requirements related to information disclosure. We are very careful about checking the business. We require the companies to disclose information about the beneficiaries, the end beneficiaries, the financial reporting, depending on the amount of financing and the terms and conditions of financing. As of today, these are the bonds and debt agreements. We check all the information we receive, if it's true and accurate, to make the reasonable decision. We also protect the investor money, which is put on the second-tier banks. We don't return the money until the project is over, and we don't keep it on our books, on our records. The banks recognize it as the client money. Also, the investors will have the opportunity to return their money. And of course, the most important thing is the risk assessment or risk disclosure, including money loss risk, the share loss risk. And we also recommend to diversify the risk for our clients. Alpamys, if we would like to ask some questions. Can you tell us briefly what projects can come to you to be able to raise the money from using your platform? The key requirements will be posted on our website. So these are the startups and small and medium enterprises. Who are they? Startups are the technology companies, rapidly growing companies with new ideas. We believe that they will attract the investment using the authorized capital. We'll look at the company valuation, like it was mentioned in the previous presentation. We'll also look at the team and the product, whether the company has raised the investment in the past. So we will be flexible to the companies, and the approach will depend on the amount of raised money. Speaking of the small and medium enterprises, we believe that these companies will be taking more loans, or they will be issuing bonds. So we look at the company turnover. We look at how long the company has been on the market. We will be requesting the financial or tax statements. It's important that investors are interested in the business and that it is profitable. Thank you, Alpamys. I wanted to focus the investors' attention that once you see the advertising, please visit our website to check whether the company has a license to ensure the safety of your money. Thank you, Alpamys, for telling us where the certificates can be found and how the licenses look. It is indeed important. And you talked about startups, and we have speakers who already have some experience. Startup is Arslan Kudiyar. Please tell us about how you combine your approach, the VC and crowdfunding. How does it help our startup to move forward, to grow further? Thank you. Thank you for inviting me to this event. Speaking of our platform, VentureRocket Eurasia, we see the potential of the Kazakhstan startup market. We see more and more projects every year. We have more interesting projects. We see the liquidities, we see the bonds are being created, and we see the foreign investors are interested in our region. But of course, it's a very high risk market. It's not for everyone. And maybe not everyone should participate there. So investing in crowdfunding, in startup projects, when investing, you need to understand all the risks associated with these activities. Like Nurbek has previously said about the democratization of investing, it used to be some sort of a closed club, and venture financing, it still remains to be so, especially in the US. And we see that there is a broad digitalization of process. Now we have different platforms that allow to purchase directly or to directly be involved in transactions. There is a venture market which hasn't yet democratized, but the process has started, and we think that it will one day become more open, more democratic. So our main goal, just to be brief, is the ability to co-invest. We choose those startup projects that already have investors, and we give our investors an opportunity. So we have some investors. We also want to work with retail investors. So we want to combine the venture market and crowdfunding through our programs. Besides that, we also work in managing the ecosystem, the digital startup ecosystem. We want to add different players so that they can interact not only as part of the investment, but also with corporations, with mentors. And it's just one place where foreigners can look at the Kazakh startup projects in different regions. We work in Kazakhstan, we work in the region, we also look at the foreign projects, and we want to invest in different funds and projects. Aslan, can we say that this platform is used as some sort of track record where you can see the entire path from startup, birth, and to determine whether it's worth investing in? Not sure about the track record. I would say that it's more the platform to validate the startup projects. We offer startup projects that we selected, and it should be co-investing. So there should be a venture fund or angel investors that should validate this idea. So you should get involved with someone involved, like as a team, so that the risks are shared. Dear viewers, dear investors, we wanted to remind you that this regulation that my colleague Aygul talked about, it allows to create a new area for financial market. We have some companies that work with SME. We have companies working with commercial property. We also have the ventures and startups. So if you have any specific ideas that can allow you to generate some solution, some ideas, you are welcome. We are happy to support you, but also there are also some instruments some tools that are regulated by our regulator. It's a cryptocurrency, and I would like to give the floor to Zhanibek so that he can tell us briefly about this. What to do with this technology. Zhanibek, the floor is yours.
Thank you, Bekzhan. Just briefly, I would like to cover the topic of cryptocurrencies regulation. Before, the speakers were telling about the opportunities of investments in some traditional tools and instruments like equity, bonds, and loans. The AIFC also regulate the digital assets. So the regulation of digital assets was developed and adopted in the year 2019, so that to identify some key topics, so that to conduct some specific activity for trading in this area. So the crypto exchanges and the expansion of activities. So the digital assets of AIFC, they are the investment means, but it's not the legal payment means. I think that the similar element will be the Forex, for example, foreign exchange facility where you can buy and sell the digital asset and you can receive some profit, let's say. Within this regulation, there were definition given to some specific terms. For example, the digital purse, it could be breakdown into cold and hot. Cold, it means the media, for example, the USB flash drive. And if we're speaking about hot, this is the internet. So the cold purse is a safer place because it's more difficult to hack this one. Then we also have the new definition of smart contract. That means digital contracts that could be executed automatically upon some specific conditions, and they are compulsory at crypto exchanges. And the definition of mining was given. This is a validation of transactions at some digital exchanges. So mining has the specific definition in the AFC, and this is not necessary to receive license for these types of activity, but we need to take into account that recently the regulation of mining in Kazakhstan has been developed, and those elements that are not covered by AIFC regulation, so these elements are under the Kazakhstani legislation. But of course, here we need to make sure that nobody is breaking law. So the AIFC has introduced a new type of activity. These are the platforms for digital assets trade. So any purchase and sales could be done through this platform. And we would like to pay the attention of our investors. So if you want to invest in cryptocurrencies, as Bekzhan has said, you need to check if the company has the relevant license, the company that suggests this, if they have relevant license. Also within this regulation, we have expanded the acting regime of our custodial activity. So this is a provision of security and administration of these digital assets. Now, here, the cryptocurrencies could also go under this area. Regarding legislation I think this topic is interesting for attraction the investments. So one way you can place this at AIX exchange. The other way is to place bonds and shares at crowdfunding platforms. And also now we can issue some shares outside some exchanges. We can issue some securities and we can sell them, let's say, over the counter, not to the exchange, but to the other party. And these securities could be issued in the digital form and they will be considered securities. So this is also one of the activities that could be paid attention at. There are also some specific rules, but this could be done without our license. There are some specific modes and there are some specific steps that company has to proceed when doing this. So regarding the last issue, regarding this mode of private placement, how to do here with some frauds, how our investors can avoid some fraudery of fraudsters. Well, we suggest it without any public advertising. As a rule, those who here, they shall know what they invest for. Probably the person, when he is doing this investment, this person studied all these risks. And there are also some specific limits. So no, the scales of this placement, there are less, and maybe the risks are also less, we can say. So mainly here we're speaking about notification, and the retail investors are protected in most ways. So, people are not advertising it publicly. So this private placement allows us to have a specific pool. So the company does this operation, and the person, this company shall to provide all this information so that investor would take into account all the risks, right? Zhanibek, do you have something else to say? No, I'm finished. Yes, here we are speaking about the similarities of or close ideas of crowdfunding activities. In the year 2017, 2018, when crowdfunding mechanisms were used in crypto world, now we can speak about it only at AIFC facility. We have the regulation on crowdfunding and crowd investments. And I will ask a question that we received from our audience. Arman, the question to you. So, Arman, if we compare, if let's say investor wants to have the full portfolio of Proportunity, is he or she able to do it? And also the next question is, what shall be the amount that the person shall start with when investing with you? Yes, a very good question. Sometimes, yes, people are saying that we are like the REIT, REIT, like when people can choose a trust with different types of property. No, what we say, when a person comes to us, we provide a specific consultation or advice, and we show the person some specific facilities or objects where he or she could invest with the amount they have. For example, there are 360,000 per square meter, 370, and then the person chooses how many square meters he or she is going to buy in each object. And then we are speaking about diversification of the portfolio. It's not that we take the full amount from the client and then we distribute this amount. No, we show everything, and then the decision is made by our client. But then later we manage this building, we we give it to rent and we provide the security of this building. So I think I managed to answer the question. Yes, I think you answered it. We also have the question from the other person. Tell us what are the differences between this platform and Start Engine platform. I can say myself that Start Engine is the platform where you can not invest, but you can buy a share. It's like the share investments. And here in the AIFC, we have two types, based on the loan and based on the share. And so here we're speaking more of the share. Yes, we will have the similar model which is similar to Start Engine. We will implement a new financial product soon. I think Start Engine is at the other market and they have their own clients. It's difficult to get into American platforms because you have to be a sophisticated investor. You have to have at least they have some specific threshold or levels that it should be higher. So there are some requirements specific. But here in Kazakhstan, we have, let's say, a little bit lower requirements regarding this. If you are a US resident, then you can invest at Start Engine from $100. So I don't see any differences there with the regulation and here at AIFC. Of course, we have differences in some laws and legislations, but as for the model, we can say that these models are similar. So, dear colleagues, if there are no other questions, so dear audience, if you have any additional questions after our session has finished, we ask you to send all your questions to our official channels of communication and we will provide the written replies to you. So, dear colleagues, we would like to thank all of you for telling us in more details about crowdfunding, for telling about different requirements from the regulator side, for telling about the requirements to people coming to you. And I think that investors understand where they can go now using the project that they are most interested in. So thank you so much, dear speakers, dear colleagues. Our panel session is coming to an end and we were glad to have you with us today. So the next webinar will be at 3 p.m. It will be Instagram live broadcast with the topic the functions of AIX register and AIX depositor and how retail investors can use its services. So, dear colleagues, we ask you to join. So, the World Investors Week in AIFC has just started. The whole week, our colleagues, our speakers are going to speak about investments, about opportunities. So, thank you so much. And now we are saying goodbye to you.